What would you do if one of the world's most respected scientists stepped onto a stage, voice trembling, and told you the moon was never what you thought it was? When Michio Kaku broke down in front of a stunned audience, science fans everywhere lost their minds. Ancient secrets, cosmic machines, hidden signals, this isn't science fiction. This is the news that turned the world upside down, and you're about to see why nobody can ever look at the moon the same way again. The stage that stopped the world. Nobody expected history to change on a Tuesday. That's how it always happens, isn't it? One moment, you're scrolling your feed, half awake, seeing the same old memes and half-baked moon conspiracies. Then suddenly, the biggest news since the Apollo landing explodes across every screen on the planet. Michio Kaku, famous for making black holes and time travel sound like playground topics, stood frozen in front of a packed room in Geneva, visibly shaken. Cameras zoomed in as he struggled to steady his voice, his hands gripping the lectern just a little too tight. You could tell, even if you had never seen the man before, that this was not how a normal scientific talk begins. In the front row, old-school astronomers tried to keep poker faces. Journalists nudged each other, pens hovering, sensing something huge was about to happen. The world had grown used to wild claims, rumors of water on Mars, blurry UFOs, clickbait about hidden faces on the moon. But what Kaku was about to unveil wasn't a wild theory, it was cold, hard data. And once it was out, there would be no putting it back in the box. He launched straight in, his first slide projecting an eerie, layered cross-section of the moon onto the giant screen behind him. At first glance, it looked like any scientific graphic until you noticed the glaring anomalies, deep internal voids, strange geometric patterns, temperature spikes in the coldest parts, and data points that stubbornly refused to match up with decades of textbooks. People in the room leaned forward, squinting, some already whispering to each other. These weren't just random shapes, there was structure here. The kind of repeating regularity that nature almost never creates on this scale. Nobody could look away. As Kaku spoke, a sense of dread crept over the crowd. He described the international effort all pooling their newest space tech. Gravitational lensing, deep penetrating radar, thermal scans. This wasn't fringe science. These were the best tools humanity had, and all of them pointed to the same impossible story: the moon was never just a natural satellite. Its core, its shell, its internal heat, none of it matched up. The deeper they looked, the weirder it got. The real gut punch came when he explained the heat signatures pulsing beneath the lunar crust. No volcanoes. No ancient warmth. This was patterned energy, mapped out in a way that should not exist, unless something was down there, running, ticking, waiting. In that moment, the crowd fell totally silent. Kaku paused, looking out over the faces, scientists and dreamers and skeptics all staring back, waiting for a joke, a reassurance, some way to laugh it off. But there was nothing. The data hung in the air, undeniable and deeply unsettling. If the moon isn't just a lump of rock, what is it? And who or what could build something so massive, so mysterious, and keep it hidden for billions of years? When science meets shock, what happened next was pure chaos, the kind that only real fear and wonder can cause. Within an hour, the news was everywhere. Push notifications, TV tickers, memes, wild Twitter threads. People who had spent years laughing at fake moon stories now scrambled to find live streams of the Geneva Symposium, desperate to catch even a scrap of Kaku's evidence. Rival physicists watched in open disbelief, trying to poke holes in the research, secretly hoping someone had just screwed up the math. But as more details trickled out, it was obvious this was no error. The same bizarre patterns showed up on every scan, from every country. It wasn't just a fluke. Internal voids, perfectly spaced, stretching for hundreds of kilometers. Temperature anomalies right where the voids appeared. Bursts of electromagnetic energy pulsing at regular intervals, like a clock running somewhere inside the moon. Even the moon's gravitational field, long known for mascons that made orbits weird, now looked less like geological mess and more like a hidden grid, one that lined up precisely with the anomalies. As scientists scrambled to make sense of it, a bigger question loomed over everyone. For centuries, people had written off the moon's oddness as coincidence. its size, its almost perfect orbit, its uncanny ability to produce total solar eclipses as if it was designed for dramatic effect. Now, every "just so" detail felt loaded with new meaning. Journalists started digging through archives, pulling up quotes from old Apollo astronauts who joked about the moon ringing like a bell after impacts. That was no joke anymore. Seismic data was suddenly being re-examined, and the long, echoing vibrations now sounded less like rocks and more like something hollow or engineered. And all the while, Michio Kaku's shaken voice played again and again on the world's screens, reminding everyone that this was just the start. If the moon's secrets were coming to light now, what else was hidden in plain sight, quietly affecting life on Earth? Was the moon just a cosmic relic, or had it been playing a role in human history all along? Kaku's initial announcement had been mind-bending, but what truly set the world ablaze was his follow-up address, one that's already legendary for its raw emotion. The video opens with Kaku, eyes heavy, looking like a man who has seen the edge of the map and realized the monsters are real. He began by outlining the global effort that led to this moment: quantum deep imaging satellites from multiple countries, cross-checks by skeptical teams, and the moment he realized the numbers refused to lie. Kaku spelled it out, voice barely above a whisper at times. Density scans found vast, regular cavities. Radar bounced off shapes that were too precise. Heat maps showed energy leaking out at precise intervals. Gravitational mapping revealed a grid, an actual lattice running from pole to pole. He admitted that early Apollo anomalies, the weird gravity, the echoing moonquakes, now made new, terrifying sense. All of it fit together in a pattern no random cosmic accident could explain. And that's when his composure broke, just a little. The camera caught it, a glint in his eye, a trembling in his hands. Here was a man who had seen the impossible and was brave enough to say, "We don't know what the moon is anymore. But it's not what we thought. And it might not be safe to keep pretending." He urged the scientific world to look beyond dogma, to merge physics with mythology, geology with consciousness, data with dreams. The moon, he said, may have been placed in orbit, perhaps not even by a civilization as we know it, but by something so advanced, its technology would look like magic. He didn't say, aliens. He didn't say, artificial. He simply told the truth. The evidence pointed to design. The implications were cosmic. If the moon's orbit, its size, and even its position were engineered, was life on Earth an accident or the result of a plan? And if it's a plan, who made it, and what did they leave for us to find? The moon becomes obsession. The fallout was instant and wild. The moon, once a silent backdrop to every human story, was now front-page news everywhere. Governments convened emergency panels, space agencies tore up old mission plans and replaced them with blueprints for deep drilling probes and magnetic field scanners. New private companies, flush with venture capital, pitched moon mining projects rebranded as lunar archaeology. Overnight, the first true space race in decades was reignited, not for flags or minerals, but for answers. The world's public was no calmer. Millions stayed up at night, eyes glued to live streams of amateur telescopes, hoping for flashes or signals. Online, forums exploded with speculation, wild theories, and frantic attempts to decode every blip in lunar data. Conspiracy theorists and scientists argued side by side, digging through ancient myths that described the moon arriving after the Earth, and tribal stories about the moon changing color or speaking to humans in dreams. Psychologists noticed a wave of moon-related dreams reported online, visions of tunnels, lights, or cryptic symbols. Artists painted images of hollow moons and mechanical hearts buried under craters. Pop musicians released songs about the Watcher in the night sky. For some, the news was exhilarating. For others, it felt like the universe itself had turned into a riddle nobody could solve. Meanwhile, science didn't slow down. Every old Apollo sample was re-examined. Chemists reported odd isotopes, never-before-seen crystal structures, hints that some lunar material might have been imported, possibly from outside our solar system. Seismologists reported new moonquakes that echoed for hours, stronger and stranger than anything recorded in the past. As evidence mounted, is the moon still active? Was it left as a machine, a vault, a beacon, or something waiting to wake up? And if the moon has been waiting, what could possibly happen if we finally trigger a response? MYTHS, madness and wonder. The shockwaves didn't stop at science and government. The moon's new mystery bled into every part of daily life. Filmmakers and writers raced to tell the story, some spinning thrillers about ancient vaults, others exploring what it would mean if the moon was a kind of cosmic ark, carrying a backup of Earth's history or the seeds of life for future worlds. Artists staged lunar vigils, painting and sculpting live as the full moon rose, channeling the collective anxiety and awe. In cities worldwide, moon-watching parties replaced the usual nightlife. People gathered on rooftops and beaches, straining to see new details in its surface, almost as if waiting for the moon to blink. In churches, temples, and even among atheists, the moon's enigma became a spiritual event. Old prayers and lunar rituals were revived, mixed with brand new ones. People whispered that maybe the moon had always been there to guide or guard humanity. If it was designed, was it a gift? A warning? Or just a cold experiment by something so far beyond us, we could never hope to understand? Meanwhile, online movements tried to communicate with the moon. Flash mobs of synchronized lights, musical broadcasts, radio pulses beamed skyward. Some insisted the only thing left was to try and say hello, just in case someone, or something, was still listening. If the moon is an artifact and we're finally paying attention, are we about to get an answer back? Or are we just the latest species to stare up and wonder? The race for secrets. Within months, the moon was at the center of a new kind of space race. China, the US, Europe, and a coalition of smaller nations all announced missions to scan, drill, and probe deeper than ever before.